Good afternoon, my fabulous Facebook family and friends. How are you? And if you are watching me in another social media platform, how are you today? Your girl Raquel from yourspiritualrock.com, where I help you get the answers that you seek. Just wanted to bring you a quick word here for our Wisdom Wednesday segment. I'm going to try to get these out on Wednesdays. What is this one missing ingredient that you are ignoring that is intended for you to be successful? And the missing ingredient is really honoring your own ideas. Your ideas have a shelf life. And some people say that the shelf life of an idea can be a few seconds, but the consensus is that the idea that you receive, that aha moment that, ooh, maybe I should try that, some insight only lasts maybe one day. It needs to be anchored. You need to do something with it, and I'll tell you why, or what happens when you don't. So we are all frequencies, right? We're all like musical, and we're all filled with waves. Everything we do everything has a signature. We all have a signature sound, and we're always broadcasting our most dominant belief system and our most dominant emotional state. Always. That's why you can walk into a room and you can feel if someone, like, especially if you know them, you can feel before sometimes even you walk into the room that there's something wrong. Or sometimes you might have a friend like that, right, where you're like, I feel like there's something wrong. Or you go into someone's presence and you just feel good in their presence, and they haven't even said anything to you yet, because we say that you like their vibes. So everyone is always sending out vibes, but if you send them, that means you can also receive them. And a lot of times we're asking for insight, we're asking for the next step, we're asking to be successful. If we're in business, that's our intent, right? Our intent is to be successful. That's part of why, part of our design is to be successful, is that purpose. But you get these ideas and then you don't anchor them. And you're not anchoring them by not doing something simple, like writing it down. So I've gotten ideas, for instance, for books, and I've gotten, like, I get a download, like the Matrix. So I'll get a download, I'll see the book title, I'll see the chapters, and a lot of the times I keep it in my head, and if I don't do anything with it, this has happened to me twice, where I saw the book then 2 years later sitting on the shelf with the same title and with the same chapters. So how did that happen? Well, I am sensitive and I open myself up to the ideas because as a creative person, I already have that as a gift. But I'm inquiring about things, and then I get an answer in the form of an idea. But I didn't run with it. I didn't do anything to anchor it. And so because that's in the ether, right, that's kind of in this realm that we don't see, just like think about it like, television waves or radio waves. Right now, hundreds of radio stations are broadcasting in and through you, but because you're not tuned into it, you can't hear it. And so a lot of times we get tuned in, but then other things take our focus, and then we switch the channel instead of doing something with that information that we received. So when you get these ideas, it's not always that you have to run with it right now. It's for something that you should be thinking about. So in my example with books, that happened to me twice. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Catrell. So nice to see you guys. So that happened to me twice. And so now I'm trying to make sure to write what I see. The last couple of years, I got the idea and the push, really, to create a membership site. And it just wasn't, you are guilty of that. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yes, Katrina says if it's not written on paper, it's nothing but vapor, poof, right? And so that idea goes back into the ether. It was given to you to do. And so if you don't do it, then it kind of goes back to recycle, and somebody else can pick up on it and do it. And guess what? Their version of it is not going to be as good or maybe as powerful as your version, because it was given for you to do. So how you can anchor that is that you can write it down, like Katrina says, right? Write it down. You can, and I bought like a really fancy recorder. I actually had it with me, and I was going to show you, but then I forgot it in my purse in another room. But I have a little recorder that I intended to use for these ideas that I get, and then I'm not using it. So I have to, use what I have, which I do a lot of recording on my phone, and I'm just going to record them now on my phone because it's faster. So now I bought something. The idea was for me to record the ideas, and then I bought something, and instead of just using what I had and the tech that I had and that I use all the time, I ended up investing. And it wasn't a big investment. It was like $25-$30. Hi, Deborah. Nice to see you, love. But I kind of ran with the idea and didn't think about it and ended up wasting money. And now I'm going to have to maybe sell it on OfferUp or something because I really don't need it after all. But the point is that you get an idea and you have to do something with it. You have to anchor it within the first 24 hours. So writing it down is great. Recording it on your phone is great. And then revisiting that idea, if you're not doing it every day, revisit it every couple days. And then think about it. Think it through. The inventor Tesla would get an idea and he would do his inventions in the head. And he got so great in his imagination space that he can see all the pitfalls ahead of time. And so when he would then physically create the inventions, and they always looked like his blueprints, and they always did what he thought it was going to do. And people were just marveled at that. And that was just his process. He would work it all out in his imagination space and use that creative side of himself to see, okay, when I do this and this and this is how is that going to play out. So that's what you need to do. You need to you're getting your answers of prayer and then you're not doing anything with it. And then you get frustrated. So you're getting your answers in the form of suggestions, ideas, and thoughts. They're being transmitted back to you because you requested it. So you requested it, the answer comes back to you, and it's so soft sometimes that you just disallow it and you dismiss it. So don't dismiss those ideas. Now don't be like me with that recorder. Just go and try to do the solution instead of stopping and thinking it through. But whatever those idea is, write it down, revisit it, talk to someone who's a good strategist, someone who's a different personality than you are, because they see, or maybe not completely different, a little bit like you, but definitely a different personality because they have a different personality cluster. That means they have a different personality gift. They can see things that you don't see. And so if you go to someone who you trust and just have the conversation, I had this idea about this and this and that. What do you think? Even if they're naturally a contrarian, because contrarians see the pitfalls of why things don't work. And so they will save you time. So normally you don't bring them in the dreaming space. And there's I think I talked about that before. So when you have this idea and you're trying to flesh it out, right? So you have 4 different kinds of people. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. So you have 4 different kinds of people. And then, so you're writing it, you're having the blueprint, and that you might be the creative. If you are the creative, then you need someone who has a dominant personality because their gift cluster includes being able to run a project, being able to make sure that it's done and it's completed fast because they like fast results. And so they can show you shortcuts and they can tell you what may or may not work, but not be a contrarian yet. So you're the creative. And then you have this person who's a dominant. If you're the dominant person, then you need someone who has a gift cluster, who is an innovator. And because the innovators, you'll know them because, they're the happy-go-lucky ones. They're very creative. They're storytellers. Some of their clothes, you can even tell the way they look. They like bling. They like flashy. They talk really fast. So they have a creative mind space. And when you work with them first. And then once you kind of flesh that idea out of, okay, this is I think I want to do, you have a blueprint. And then you bring in someone who is a nurturer because these are the salt of the earth people. So their gift cluster includes being able to make sure that everyone's included, that they use all the resources, that use the materials that they have in place already, so that way there's less waste that way. They're really great also in project management. Now they are slower. They're not slow. They're just slower than someone who has a dominant personality or the creative, because the dominant personality and the creative, they're big vision people. So the nurturer, the salt of the earth person, is the smaller vision, and you need them because they get to see some of the details. Now, once you have those things in place for your idea, then you move over and you bring in the contrarian. Don't bring in the contrarian until the end, because they will poke so many holes into your idea that you might get frustrated and be like, oh, you're right, not even wanting to do it. So they're needed though, because again, they can see the pitfalls. They can see why your idea is not going to work, why nobody's going to want it, why nobody's going to buy it, why you're not going to be successful. And you're like, those sound like haters. They're not. That's just their gift. Their gift is to see the holes. And if you have this creative idea, you're like, oh, that would be perfect because I really want to do this other thing. You have blinders on. Because if the idea, especially if the idea comes across and it's something that you really want to do, it's in line with your purpose. You're like, yeah, this sounds perfect, blah, blah, and I really want to do this idea. I really want to run with this. And then you don't include somebody who has the gifting of poking holes. What's going to happen is that you might have to learn through hard knocks some of those and go through some lessons of what not to do, of how to figure some things out, of who to do business with, because you didn't want to hear it in the beginning. So take your ego out of it, darling. Take your ego out of it. This is not personal. And people who have this critical thinking gift cluster, they love to share their expertise. So you bring them in again at the end. And you're like, this is my idea. These are the people. That's a mastermind. That's really to create a good mastermind. You have to be in a group of people who have different giftings than you and see differently than you. Because if you all have the same mindset and you all see things the same, you're going to be doing the same thing and getting the same results that you have right now. But what you want is different results. So how are you going to get different results if you keep on including the same kind of people? Now, I know we love rapport, right? Really, all people prefer others reflecting themselves. We resonate, right? Because we're vibing. We have a high vibe, and we vibe with people who are like us, who think like us, who believe like us. It's just easier to be around them. But the truth is that if you want to be successful, you're going to have to grow up a little bit and really engage in some emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is about you controlling your own emotions. In this one, it's pride and it's your ego. And so you need to be able to toughen up and allow those contrarians in your life to be contrarians in your life. Ask them, saying, okay, and if they don't know anything about it, that's fine too, because maybe they'll say something that will spark another idea. Because what you're trying to do is tap into their expertise of being able to poke holes, so that way you can say, okay, this is a foreseeable issue. If they are right, and that happens, what is then my plan? And then you go back to the drawing board. And it's the dominant and the creative. They go back with that information, that great information that they got from the nurturer and the contrarian, and they see how they have to rearrange those ideas, that concept, those precepts, the plans, the blueprint, and then they come back to the nurturer, and the nurturer does the same exercise, and then you take it back to the contrarian. And you do that a couple cycles with this idea that you have until you get comfortable, you're like, okay, I can go with it. Especially if the idea is going to cost you significant time and significant money. Now, by significant time, time is, you can't get that back. So time is priceless. But significant money, it can be anything. It can be more than $50. Maybe you have a threshold where like, okay, if it's going to be more than $50 or more than $100 investment, and if it's $100 a month versus just a one-time $100, right? Because then over the course of a year, you're investing $1,200. Then $1,200 is not chicken feed, right? You don't want to be investing $100 every month and not getting, at least $200 back every month. So that way you replace your $100 and you made $100. It's okay for you to put $1 in if you're getting $2 back. That's a great ROI. But you don't want to be like, oh, it's only $100. Over the course of the year, it's $1,200. You know what you could have done with $1,200? I'm like a budget queen. I can tell you so many things that you can do with $1,200, really. So, you know, I would challenge you. Even those things that are going to cost you $100, that should be your threshold. If it's going to cost you $100 a month, then that's significant dollars, because now it's going to be over $1,000 in the year, right? So work your idea. That is your secret sauce. That is what you're ignoring because you're not following through on that idea. For instance, I was talking about the membership site. So I launched, it's in soft launch right now, a membership site called Be Limitless. And so I got the idea a couple of years ago, and I started to look into it. So all the way I wanted, the needs that I had, which I needed something to be easy, I needed to be able to upload content fast. I had to be pretty much almost drag and drop. You know, I know some coding, but I don't have enough interest in it to really figure it out and to study it. So I had the idea, and immediately started looking into it, and it was going to be too cost prohibitive for me to do it. And so then I just kept on. The idea will come back. You know, I would revisit it. In the beginning, I did it a lot, and then I kind of just put it on the shelf. And then I would come back and I would look into it. And so I knew what I was looking for, and I was waiting for the opportunity what I knew I needed would show up. And so recently there was, I can't remember his name right now, but he created a software, and it's super easy. And when I saw it and the cost for me to have it, before people have to start paying for it like every month, you know, because it's one of those, like, right, the soft launches, the pre-launches. So if you get in, then you have like a one price versus every single month. So I got in early, and it's wonderful, and it's everything that I wanted and I saw when I was doing this blueprint 2 years ago. So I want to also leave you with that. Don't be discouraged that this idea that you have, that even after you do all the blueprinting and after you talk these ideas with other brilliant minds, and now you're like, okay, now I know what I want. I know how I want to do it. I know the things that I need. And then maybe the wall for you might be price, you know, because you're like, well, you know, you're going to have, what is it? Good, fast, and cheap. You can only have two. If you want it to be good and fast, it's not going to be cheap. If you want it to be good and cheap, it's not going to be fast. You're just not going to get all three. And so, but I wanted all three. I wanted it to be fast, I wanted it to be cheap, and I wanted it to be good. And it took the market 2 years to develop what I needed. But I was patient. I knew not to put the cart before the horse. I knew what I needed because I did the blueprint. And when the technology caught up to my vision and everything I wanted, it's very rare when you get all three things. And in this instance, I got all three things. So be encouraged that your idea, maybe the technology has not caught up to what you want, but keep your eyes open, keep that dream alive, continue to nurture that idea and be like, I wonder how else I can do it. Don't be so stubborn and caught into that it has to be this way. As long as you believe that it has to be a certain way, you might get what you want, but you might have to wait for it. Because maybe there's a different way or a faster way for you to get what you want. So always, you know, ask God, you know, and be like, this is what I want, this is what I think I need. You know, and I just received the fullness of it. Believe that you have the answer that you seek and that it will show up. Believe you have it now, and the how will show up for you. But be open to the mechanisms. And again, those are going to mostly come through ideas, thoughts, and suggestions. You can think about SIT, suggestions, ideas, and thoughts. That's how the answers to what you want initially come. They're going to come in one of those three methods. So when you get those ideas, those suggestions, those thoughts, jot them down. Jot them down, think about them, see if there's any validity. Sometimes the ideas that you have, they're not really for you to do immediately, or for you to do it all, but it's one of those things that become a catalyst. That because you have that thing, you know how one thought leads to another and leads to another. You're like, okay, that's not going to work, but maybe if I do this instead. And then you get into that mode of being creative and starting to work out that idea. So work out your idea. Work it out by first, when you get that brilliant idea, quirky idea, whatever that is, jot it down some way. Put it on a Post-it. Record it on your phone, put it on your computer. Use the technology that you use most often, because you're already using it most often. So make it easy for yourself. Jot it down, and then use your own personality to leverage how you will revisit that and nurture that. I hope this was helpful. If you want more information about Be Limitless, you can go ahead and go to breakyourlimitations.com for more information on how you can get a trial for $1. I have all kinds of content, and there will be fresh, exclusive content loaded there every single week. Until next time, may all God's riches and best be yours. I'm looking forward to seeing how God's blessings show up in your life. I believe in you, and I know that you were made with a purpose, and I'm really praying and pulling and cheering you on that everything that you were designed for and designed to do, that you would do it, and that you would not be one of those who at the end of your life being, I wish I would have. None of that. I believe in you. So happy that I'm able to connect with you, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye now.